This is Embrace Your Inner Boldness, a podcast about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. I'm Melissa Henning Frank, coach, guide, and founder of Becoming Bold. I help you strip away the conditioning, reclaim your voice, and rise into the power that's always been yours. Let's get right to it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I'm really glad you're here today. In this episode, I'm going to be sharing some feedback that I received recently from a group of leaders that I had the privilege of working with through my personal impact coaching experience. And I don't mean I'm going to read you a highlight reel of nice things that people said about me. I mean, I genuinely want to dig into what this feedback revealed about what leaders are actually hungry for, about what's missing in most professional development conversations, and about what becomes possible when someone finally gives themselves permission to be honest. So stay with me. Let's get into it. Let me give you a little context first. I spent decades in the corporate world, both in production roles and admin roles, primarily and most recently in human resources and talent development. I've done this work with leaders for a long time, and now I get the pleasure of working with leaders and teams in my coaching and consulting business, Becoming Bold. One of my offerings is the personal impact coaching experience, which combines two assessments: the Myers-Briggs Personal Impact Report and the TKI Conflict Style Assessment, with a 90-minute one-on-one coaching session. It's designed for leaders who want to go deeper than a standard personality debrief. We use the data as a launching pad, and then we have a real conversation. I recently worked with a cohort of leaders through this experience, and afterward, I sent them a feedback survey. What came back stopped me in my tracks. And it wasn't just the ratings, which were overwhelmingly high, but the language that people used to describe what they experienced. One person said it felt like therapy for life and work. Another said she finally felt free to be completely honest and vulnerable. One leader described feeling truly seen and heard in a way that was, in his words, a huge unlock. And I kept thinking, these are experienced, accomplished professionals. They're not new to the workforce. They're not struggling to perform. And still, they were carrying things that they hadn't had the space to put down. And still, they were hungry for a conversation that actually went somewhere. And that tells me something. And I think it tells you something too. Here's the common theme I kept thinking about as I read through the responses. Multiple people mentioned, unprompted, how valuable it was to talk to somebody outside of their organization, somebody who had no stake in their performance review, no history with their team dynamics, no agenda beyond helping them get clear. I totally get this because I was also in their shoes, and it's easier to open up when you trust a neutral party. One leader said it was refreshing to have a conversation with someone that she didn't work with or for. It allowed her to be truly honest. Think about how rarely that happens for leaders. Think about who in your world you can actually be fully honest with about the hard stuff at work. Your manager? Too complicated. Your peers? Too risky. Your team? Not appropriate. Your partner at home? They're exhausted from hearing about it. So where does it go? It gets managed. It gets tolerated. And then it gets recycled into frustration that shows up very inconveniently and unexpectedly later. Big, huge energy leak. And it's one of the most common ones I see in leaders. The outsider perspective isn't a bonus or a luxury. For a lot of leaders, it's the missing piece. It's the space where the real conversation finally gets to happen and they feel the relief that somebody was listening to them and gets them. Now, here's where I want to take this a step further because this isn't just about individual coaching. Several of my clients, after their personal sessions, asked some version of the same question of, what would it look like to do this with my whole team? And that is a very good question. Personal clarity doesn't stay personal. It ripples out. A leader who understands their own conflict style starts responding differently in team meetings. A leader who recognizes their own patterns stops projecting them onto their people. A leader who finally feels seen starts creating space for others to feel seen too. And that's the bridge between individual coaching and team effectiveness work. And it's not a bridge that I have to convince people to cross. It's one that they naturally want to walk once they've had the individual experience. My human centered team effectiveness workshops are built on the same foundation. It's the same philosophy, the same commitment to going deeper than surface level communication tips. But now we're doing it together as a team in a room. And when the whole team gets that kind of clarity together, when they understand how each of them are wired, where the friction actually comes from, and what it looks like to lead with more intention, that's where things start becoming easier, smoother, more focused. I want to close this out with something that I've been thinking about since I read through all of that feedback. We spend so much time in the professional development world talking about skills. We talk about frameworks, competencies, and those things do matter. I use them and I believe in them. But what my clients described wasn't a skills gap getting filled. It was a hunger getting fed, a human hunger to be understood, to be honest, to have somebody ask the right questions and actually wait for a real answer, to walk away not just with information, but with ideas and with clarity. And that's what bold leadership actually requires, not just a skill, but self-awareness and the willingness to look honestly at how you're showing up and do something about it. If you're listening and this is really resonating with you, I want you to consider one question. When was the last time you had a conversation that was entirely about you, your wiring, your patterns, your growth edges and blind spots, with somebody that had no agenda except helping you get clear? If you're struggling to answer that, it might be time. I genuinely loved putting this episode together. Reading through that feedback reminded me exactly why I do this work, and it filled my cup in a way that I didn't expect. So, to every client who took the time to share their experience, thank you. That meant more than you know. Let's stay connected. Check out the link in the show notes. And until next time, please be kind to your mind. That's it for today's episode of Embrace Your Inner Boldness. If this stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Screenshot this episode, tag me at Becoming Bold LLC, and share it with someone else who's ready to rise. And hey, if you haven't already, take a second to subscribe, rate, and review the show. That's how we spread the boldness and keep this movement growing. Whatever came up for you today, feel the fear and do it anyway. You don't need to wait for perfect timing or permission. You are powerful. You are ready. And remember, the only limit to your boldness is the one you set for yourself. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep becoming you.